Greetings, witches. Welcome to Wednesday and the Witches Movie Coven. Grab your goat, grab a drink. Let's talk movies, shall we? Yes, every Wednesday at this exact time, we talk about witches and witches in movies. I am one of your hosts. Let me introduce
Ghost cackle.
This is fabulous. I've got so many plushies here. If I get another one, I'm going to be eaten out of house and home, is all I can say. I am Patti Negri. I am one of your hosts. You might know me from The Witching Hour, my regular podcast, or from my show Ghost Adventures, or all my YouTuber stuff. But I am thrilled to be a part of this coven, the Witches Movie Coven. I'm one of the proprietors of University Magicus, one of the co-owners of Paraflix, and let me just pass this on to, let's go to Richard-Lael next.
I am Richard-Lael. Richard-Lael is one name, not two. If I were just Richard, I would be a... That is right. I am known as the Gentleman Psychic. I'm a psychic and a medium. I used to be a psychic and a small, but I gained some weight. What puts me aside from all of the other psychics that I work with is that they're all love and light or doom and gloom, and I am a happy medium. With that, I am known also from Ghost Adventures and from University Magicus, but I'm also known for a lot of other things, including Anthony Padilla, and I go viral on TikTok ever so often with a little video clip of my voice. I am, as I said, a psychic medium, but I also host things here in my home in New Orleans. So that is what I do.
Thank you. Let's move to the one and only Heather Greene.
Hi, I am Heather Greene, and I am the author of Lights, Camera, Witchcraft. It's the critical history of witches in American film and television. It's the only massive guide to all things witchy in American movies. And I am also a journalist covering all kinds of things occult and witchy in the media, and as well as an author. I am an author at Llewellyn, but I'm also an editor, acquisitions editor at Llewellyn Worldwide. And I get to work with so many wonderful authors writing all kinds of witchy and occult books. So I'm surrounded by it, including Patti Negri's upcoming book, Dollcraft, A Witch's Guide to Puppet Magic and Haunted Dolls. Who knew you would write that book?
You did.
Yes, that is one of my wonderful books that I have worked on as an editor with a wonderful author as well.
Thank you.
And you did the foreword.
I did. I was honored to be asked, and I did. So thank you for asking me, Patti.
Oh, of course, there could be no one else. And when you just read the foreword's like my favorite part.
I like your tea party story, the doll tea party. It brought me back. I love that. I'm waiting for a haunted tea party with our dolls.
We're going to have haunted tea parties across America, I think.
That's wonderful.
Anyway, if you guys do not have to adjust your screen, if you're thinking that Jason and Courtney look a little bit different, they unfortunately cannot be with us, but we have two fabulous fill-ins. Let's move over to Tabitha. Tabitha, you may have recognized her a few times before.
Hello, I am Tabitha Meadows. I am a medium and psychic, and I am happy to be here with you all on this full moon right before Halloween.
Perfect. Halloween. I like that. Thank you so much. Great to have you back. And dear friend of mine, an amazing Scarlett Amaris. Tell us who you are.
Thank you, Patti. My name is Scarlett Amaris. I am a screen and television writer. I've also started to direct music videos, and I have taught classes around the world on mythology and witchcraft. So I'm thrilled to be here again. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. We are thrilled to have you both, as is Willow, my dog, barking upstairs, who was quiet all day until now. This week's movie, we want to thank Robert, who's one of our biggest listeners and hanging out, Robert Hicks, for this movie, Wonderwell. I don't know if we're thanking you or not. We're going to wait till Juan's up or Juan's down on that. But this week's movie is Wonderwell. 2023, amazingly, because Carrie Fisher is in it, and she died many years ago.
2016.
She died 2015.
16.
But just in case somebody didn't watch it this week, we hope you did. But just in case somebody didn't Richard-Lael, do you have a completely unbiased synopsis of this film?
I do have. It sounded like there was water running for a second. Okay, well, that's good. Okay, well, since we are on the topic of Wonderwell, Robert, I love you. You are so wonderful. I am going to delicately put this. This is a film about an American family who take the Lolita Express and they end up on Epstein Island with their 2 teenage daughters. And while on Epstein Island, the 15-year-old girl is put in rather compromising positions. To quote the dumpster Führer himself, he likes them kind of on the young side. So this 15-year-old girl is put in compromising positions. And she has a sister who's between the age of 12 and 13. I don't know. I didn't Google it. But she's about that age. She's just at the turning when she's going from prepubescence into puberty. And she wanders off. She doesn't understand really what's happening around her. She's young and she's innocent. And while they're on the shoot, she meets this little Italian boy who is somehow younger than the older and somehow older than the younger, and somehow they're both fighting over this same kid. Weird. I don't know. Anyway, she wanders off and she's warned by, I don't know, what was his name? Pepperoni, I think.
Daniele.
Daniele. She's warned by Daniele not to go into the woods, because if she goes into the woods, there is not a big bad wolf who will huff and puff, but instead there is a witch. And she decides that she will not heed the warning, and she goes into the wood, where she does encounter a witch. And then she somehow finds a drain, and that is the rest of the movie. Because she goes down that drain. And on the other side, she finds out that everyone is exactly who they are. Her parents hate each other, and her father is interested in, you find out, the sister to the other witch, who is the bad witch, the Wicked Witch of Italy or something. The Wicked Witch of Mar-a-Lago. Anyway, that's the other sister. And they have this sort of fight. The dad is in love with that witch. The mother is in love with the photographer. The sister is sneaking out and going to parties, even though she's been put in timeout, not because she did anything wrong, but because people were looking at her. Weird. Anyway, in this one, she burns a flower to signify that she has passed the other side of the coin. She is no longer innocent. The other girl comes through the other side of the world, and she realizes, okay, well, you know, she's given this red dress. And then there are, for the rest of the film, awful jokes about, I mean, I felt dirty in watching it. There are bad jokes about this 13-year-old girl developing as a woman, even from grown men. And then at the end, of course, you find out that she has become the witch. She defeats the Wicked Witch, and she becomes the good witch, but she's still on the other side, and she still is in love with what's his name, Daniele. Her sister is somehow now wanting forgiveness, but still dressed like she is. The end, I think.
Thank you very much. And it should be clear to everyone now, the entire plot line of this fantasy film. But maybe, just maybe, we can get a little more information from Heather. Do we have 5 things that we actually do need to know about this movie beyond the synopsis?
Sure, I have to dig them out here. There's so many. Yes, I do. I have 5 things that we need to know. I'm going to give you some of the basics first, and then I'm going to put the goats over here because they're trying to chew on the paper. Hold on a second.
They're wily tonight. Maybe it's the full moon.
It is. We'll talk about the cast. Then we'll talk about one particular cast member. Then I will give you some notes about witchcraft in the movie and some other themes. So just to bring up for our conversation. So first, let's talk about the basics. This was directed by Vlad Marsavin. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that properly. Produced both in the it's an Italian-American film, meaning both of the industries were equally involved or were involved. So it's not just one or the other. You had both, and it was filmed in Italy. So a lot of the crew were Italian. It was filmed actually in Tuscany, which you can look at the backgrounds, or that's really nice. If you've ever been to Tuscany and the old medieval villages there, they're beautiful and wonderful, and they look like that. San Gimignano is one of the ones they filmed in. They also filmed in Rome. They began filming in 2016, which is why you have Carrie Fisher in the movie. Much of the filming was done then. And then due to technical issues and COVID and a number of things, it got pushed back and back and back and finally was released in 2023. So this is one of those films you'll hear me talking about, how when films get delayed for various reasons, that is sometimes not a very good thing for a film to have so many delays. Of course, COVID was part of this one's problem. It took 8 years to get it released. It finally came to the screens in 2023. It is also based on, based on a short story by William Brookfield, who actually wrote the screenplay as well, adapted it. And the original short story was called Drainhole Dreaming. You heard there is a drain hole in the movie as well. So those are some of the basics that just kind of laying that out. Let's talk about the cast now. So the cast filled with people you recognize probably, right? I am going to skip one cast member because that's going to be number 3. This movie though was sold, and I keep losing there we go. There, you're back. I keep losing my screen. This film was billed that it was going to do well for two cast members, Carrie Fisher, who we'll talk about in a minute, and Rita Ora, who is a pop star, big pop star. You may have seen her on some, and I wrote down some of the shows she's been on. Where is my cast? Well, I probably didn't write it down over there. She's been on The Masked Singer. She's been on The Voice. She's been in a bunch of movies, and I wrote some of them down. What's really interesting, I thought was funny, she actually had a bit role in Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. She was in the back at some point. She's not credited. She's just in the back. But she's been in a bunch of movies, and I have them listed on some sheet of paper that I have misplaced. But she has been around, so you may recognize her. But it was her, as well as Carrie Fisher, that they were hoping would bring in the money. Other actresses, you have Kira Millward. She is listed as not being in anything else but this movie. She's the 12-year-old girl. You have Megan Dodds. She was in a bunch of TV shows. You may have recognized her from CSI House episodes, all those 2000 TV shows. She's been in other things. A movie that I recognized on her list was Ever After, if that's an older movie from the 90s, I believe. Vincent Spano, might recognize him. He's been in a lot of stuff over a period of time. Nell Tiger Free is someone who you may recognize from Game of Thrones. She was actually Myrcella, the daughter of the Lannister daughter that got sent off to Dorne halfway through, I think, season 3 or 4. I'm revisiting Game of Thrones right now, so it's in my mind. But she is that daughter. She was in the Omen movie, the latest Omen movie, and several other films. You also have Lloyd Owen, who is the father, who is starring in Lord of the Rings, Ring of Power. He's in that one. If you're watching that, he's also was in Apollo movie and the Young Indiana Jones stuff. So he's been in some things. You might recognize his face. But number 3, getting to the most recognizable face in this movie for us, is Carrie Fisher. And the most interesting thing about Carrie Fisher, in this movie is this was her last movie. And there's been several witch movies that we've watched or are going to watch where we see it, they're the last movie of the actress. And it's really interesting, or actor, and it's really interesting to actually see these. What is the last thing they did? This was the last thing she did. And as one reviewer was talking about how often the last movie an actress does is not necessarily the one you want to remember them for. So that would be the case for several of our witch movies, and I'll pull those out another time. So this is Carrie Fisher. Of course, she was the daughter of Debbie Reynolds and Eddie Fisher. Debbie Reynolds, it was a witch in Halloween Town. You know her from that, or there she is. So of course, this is really nice to see daughter replaying a similar type of crone witch character. So that's great. We love Debbie Reynolds as movie junkies. And she is probably best known, however, for Princess Leia, which was not her first acting on the screen performance, but it was very early. And I don't think she ever really fully shook that character. Star Wars is a behemoth when it comes to fandom. So she is and will forever be Princess Leia to many, many people. Loved. She was also an excellent writer. She did screenwriting. She was in other movies like Blues Brothers. I don't know if any of you guys remember her in Blues Brothers. She was a crazed girlfriend or ex-girlfriend. Soap Dish, The Burbs, which we're talking about reviewing here, Hannah and Her Sisters. She was also in a movie where our producer was talking about earlier called Under the Rainbow, which was by Chevy Chase. It's a movie about auditioning the people to play the Munchkins in the Wizard of Oz, the original Wizard of Oz. It's not a documentary. It's a ludicrous movie, actually, but that's for another time. It's called Under the Rainbow from the 80s. And she's been in a ton of little bit parts, but really most people know her for Princess Leia. And you know, that was such a behemoth that she never really could shake that. And that is okay by me. So that's number 3. And number 4, I want to talk about just some notes about witch notes. This is a witch movie. There are witch things in it. You saw a tarot deck. That tarot deck was created for the film, although it was fascinating and I'm very interested in it. Apparently, people asked the creators, the production designer, if they would create that deck as an actual deck and sell it, and they said maybe. So look, keep your eye out. Maybe it'll show up at some point. But it is an interesting deck. It was created specifically for this movie. You saw the Earth symbol at one point. It was written on the stone. If you noticed it, the triangle. You have a bull, nature, various things like that. And of course, you have Hazel. Carrie's actual character is called Hazel, a very common name for witches in movies. This is like, think Witch Hazel. Okay. But you have the name Hazel throughout. There's another movie called, escapes my head right now, but the character is called Hazel. And she's an older crone like this. It may be Troll, actually, where you have the Hazel character, but it appears, especially for crone witches, throughout Hollywood's history. And you have here, she's called Hazel. She also looks like what I call a clown witch in my book. She has the classic curly red hair and the crazy colorful outfit. Those are also a canned type of character that you have. Think of Endora. She's right out of Endora's book. She's not as funny as Endora, but she's in that design, and you have that throughout Hollywood as well. That's one of the standard characters, especially for crone witches. They usually are imparting wisdom. They're a little bit different. They challenge. They make you become who you want to become. Sometimes funny, and that is pretty much it. Kind of abandons the whole witch thing very quickly. So that's all you really get. And then the themes you have in this movie are interesting. There's a lot of symbolism. We can talk about whether we liked it or not, whether it was effective. We can talk about, Scarlett was going to mention mythology stuff, so we'll talk about that. But there's a lot of symbolism and a lot of stuff going on where they drop various pieces. And one of the things also interesting in terms of occult and that I can bring up, the occult idea, is they have the Paradiso and the Inferno, and the two witches, one is of Paradiso, one's Inferno. One is I didn't read it as good and bad. It was life and death. And they were both children of Mother Earth. And so you have this kind of symbolic setup that feels very pagan, feels very witchy. Whether it worked or not is another story. We can talk about that. And what they did with it, whether we liked what they did with it. But you have these little pieces throughout that sort of suggest coming of age, another typical witch theme that we have in these movies. You have these themes that sort of work their way through sometimes, whether they're effective or not. Again, we can discuss that, but that's what I have for you.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Speaking of Scarlett, do we want to go over to you and talk about, before we get into each of our opinions about the movie,
Sure.
thing?
I mean, it was interesting because I like, I know the mask that you have talking in the woods is based off of, I've seen that before. It's one of the Etruscan goddesses, and it starts with an E, and the name is on the tip of my tongue, but I like that they were pulling from that. I also kept wondering if Yana was like a Ereshkigal, if she was the queen of the dead, and that this was like a Persephone story, and so I kept trying to figure out where, or was, with the giving her the red, which I know kind of symbolizes like menstruation and coming of age and all of this, but also it's the color of the Magdalene, and it's the color of very certain tranches of witches, and in witchcraft it signifies the earth, and so I guess that's her role as like taking over as the nature witch, or the taking the nature witch magic. But it never quite, it pulled a lot of different threads, but it just never quite settled into where it was going with them, and so I could see the parts of mythology that it was pulling from. I could see where it's pulling from, and I have to say, I mean, I'm all for magical realism. And I like stuff that's like Euro bonkers, off the beaten path. But I did find myself kind of going, I don't know if this is an Ereshkigal story. This is obviously like, it's scary to like come of age, and like bad things happen when, and you learn, as your hormones kick in, you learn terrible things about the world. But that was kind of as much as I had from it.
Can I just jump in here? The whole thing, trying to figure out the two characters and the relationship, the two witches, and you were trying to do the same thing. Like, who are they exactly? What is they call themselves sisters? They're obviously daughters of Mother Earth, we learn. But what I found interesting is they wanted them to be friendly to each other, and sort of like part of it was like they were paralleling them, like life and death, and you could see that. But at the same time, I was like, wait a second, the scene where they sign the contract and it's Italian, don't worry about it.
Yeah,
that's suggestive of that she's the devil.
Yeah,
because that's signing a pact with the devil. So they kind of add that little piece in there.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, she's evil. Is she evil? Is she not evil? Because if she's just death, she shouldn't be evil. She should just be the counter to life. And then they kill her at the end.
But then they also have her in bed with the other daughter, and it's incredibly suggestive. And so it was a little like, okay. They also have this great scene at the end that I actually really liked, and that's her death scene where she gets covered in the shroud and all the white flowers, and then they become the moths. And that's taken directly from a comic called Slania the Horn God. So that's from like a Celtic mythology. I remember those panels because they're so beautiful, and it was fantastic and to see that like actualized.
And were those flowers, they looked like Lenten rose. They looked like Hellebore, thank you. Yeah. I have tons of them outside, which is according to one of the books that I have worked on, is a flower of Hades.
It is.
So it has a death thing. Well, she can't be killed. So what happened to her?
Yeah.
Well, I have an idea on that, actually.
Also used in flying ointments. My latest script is called Hellebore. That's how I know. But yeah, it's one of the ingredients in flying ointments too.
Well,
I have a theory as to what happened. They didn't actually kill her. I'm a big fan of Tim, and as a big fan of Tim Curry played the devil character in Legend, and he also played the most sensual, seductive villain in any children's film ever, Fern Gully. And so she gets locked into a tree. And if you remember from Fern Gully, when all of the saws come through and they cut down the tree, and then he sort of is just this ooze that comes out, and he sings about it's for all of those years being locked up in a tree. And he talks about slime beneath me, slime up above. And then he sings about toxic love. I feel that maybe she did die. Maybe she's just locked into a tree. This is the prequel.
Well, yeah, because I don't think she died either, because what I saw happen was that all the vines started going through her. She changes into the flowers, and then all of a sudden she bursts into all these, what looked like to me, these white butterflies, which again, butterflies are symbolism for death. So so and they dispersed, like, it's a transformation into something else, and they were white. So did she she had on black clothing, the flowers turned white, the butterflies were white. So
maybe they're moths?
That would be nice too.
They
could have been.
I think Mother Earth just put her in a timeout.
She can't die. And they said that right at the end. She said, you can't die, because she's death, because that's who she is. She's death. She can't die. So.
But does that mean that the other sister, the 15-year-old girl, does that mean that she takes on the role of death later on? Does it like morph into her body, and that's it can only be passed down from sister to sister, like sets of sisters? The Paradiso and the Inferno.
That's in part
it can
two.
only
That's
be
interesting. That's interesting.
That's the sequel coming up.
Yeah.
I hope there's never a sequel.
The musical. Wonderwell, the musical. Starring Richard-Lael.
Okay. Tabitha, what's your thoughts?
So I feel like it was, I saw someone write somewhere that it was beautifully frustrating. And I thought that was a very good synopsis in 2 words. There was points where, like, it was like every 15 minutes I would look at my partner and say, what is going on? What are we watching? And it was like, what in the ayahuasca experience is going on here? Because everything's like so beautiful and wonderful, and I'm looking for the story with all these beautiful visuals. And let me tell you, I appreciate beautiful visuals, but when you're in a fantasy type scenario, I also want a story. I want to be able to escape in there with you. So something that I did kind of, that did come to the front for me, was that there was this one scene there that I thought was very beautiful, when after the Mother Earth, the butt plug in the middle of the forest. I'm like, oh my gosh, what is that? What is going on? And that's what it reminded me of. So I learned something new where that is. But anyhow, so after she goes to the Upside Down, there's this scene where the big sister is on the stairs, little sister and mom appears on the stairs. So the big sister is wearing black. Savannah's wearing black. And Violet, she is wearing red, and the mom is wearing white. So this, to me, felt like there was a little bit of old school tarot nod here with playing cards, cartomancy, where the hearts are cups. And let's see, she was wearing, Violet was wearing red. spades could be swords. The sister was wearing black, and the mom was wearing white. And there was a little bit of nod to the rabbit oh shoot, okay, I can't think of the movie. Help me out, y'all.
Alice in Wonderland.
Thank you. Yeah, Alice in Wonderland. Because Mama looks at the daughters and says, talks about dinner, and she's like, "We shouldn't be late." And she's wearing the white. So I thought that was really cool. You're talking about flowers as well in here. There was a couple nods to, there's Nightshade. There's the Angel's Trumpet that was brought up, and the Naked Ladies, or the Belladonna. Thought that was pretty cool. The biggest thing is that, I just couldn't tell, where the movie was going. It would start with one thing. Like when it started out with the kind of like, it looks like Violet's doing her own kind of sweetener spell to, get her family back together. She's making these cookies and everything. I was like, oh, this is really cute. She's doing this thing. She's baking. She's trying to get her family back together. And then it just, it keeps going, and we kind of lose that story. And so I just had a hard time with that. But, overall, like just visually, it was just exquisite. Really nice to look at. I do have some sound advice. There was one particular point in the movie where I got kind of a little bit miffed because the mother and father were having a heated conversation, and Violet was in the hallway listening. And sound advice is to never tell a woman that you need to sleep it off when you're in an argument with her, especially not a witch. So, yeah, that's my take. I just I wish there was more of a storyline. The continuity just wasn't there for me, but visually it was just exquisite. So yeah.
You know what's interesting? You brought up the white, the black, and the red, and like in traditional witchcraft, the white is the heavens, the red is the earth, and black is the underworld. So that would make sense that that's who they would be representing.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And the at the end with the boss fight, and I forgot her name too. With Carrie Fisher's character as it looked like to me that it was Hazel. That big thing was the son. Yeah. Hazel was in that fight. She actually has that big sword too. So kind of that, she's wearing black. It could be that spades nod with the sword and tarot. So yeah, I thought that was interesting too.
Thank you. I will go. Wait, things are falling. I just felt dirty. Dirty. Part of it, I love. It was beautiful. I've never been to Italy, and seeing that makes you want to go there. And the fantasy and the flowers, it was great. The witchy, I appreciated it and pointed out the witchy stuff. But I think I took it to a personal level because, weirdly enough, I was that 15-year-old model. I was that girl thrown into a very adult world in weird bikinis with ogling old men looking at you. I was this 15-year-old virgin going, where I don't know. I hurt so badly through this thing. I think I just took it all back to my story. So, but it could have been so much more. It could have been even that part of it. I guess just no storyline went through, but I just kept going perv, pervy. And I've been there. I've done that. And I've been in this situation where you don't know what you're supposed to do and not do. And you do a thing or you don't do a thing and you never know what. And and then having the parents right there, because I had the parents right there. It was just, this was way too personal for me, way too personal to even go. Storyline? What storyline? Right? If there was one, I wouldn't have got it anyway. So, this was like a cathartic, weird,
Also,
weird, all the movies we've ever seen.
I think if you're trying to say fashion is bad, you know, and that's what they're trying to say, then don't make it look like, you know, like a really kick-ass Jean-Paul Gaultier show.
Right?
that you would want to be like, I would want to be the queen of hell because she's got some great clothes.
Yeah,
Right?
I love the clothes, and I was this love-hate because I hated being a 15-year-old model for Kodak.
Oh yeah.
But the judgment, the this, the that, the insecurity, all of it. But yes, the clothes, the girl, they were so gorgeous, all of it.
That's why I think they missed the mark on what they were trying to say.
I don't think they really. Yes, I completely agree with all of you guys, and I think that the discomfort and the difficulty of being a young girl becoming a woman is part of what they were trying to do, but they never really fully got there. And that might be partly to do with the fact that you had a man writing this and a man directing this, and that really makes a difference. And that's part of the studies I've done with Disney films, with various films. There's a huge difference when you have a woman tweaking a story like this. But with that said, I think that was one of the points, but they never really hit it. I think Scarlett said that, you guys said they never really embraced that. They had that going. Then they had all of the symbolism from, you know, pulling in the head like the Wizard of Oz head, pulling in the jumping down the hole like Alice in Wonder. You have all of these things going on, and then the random kiss. I'm like, okay, that just happened. That was weird. You have all these like random little things, and then the earth and the witch, and it never, nothing congealed. They never really owned any of them. And it was like they could have cut some of these themes out or degraded them to just notes and owned one of these themes, and they never did. And that was unfortunate. My favorite parts of the movie were with Carrie Fisher's moments, because she was in the garden, because that was just pretty. And Carrie Fisher is lovely, and with her curly hair, and I adore that. Her little acting role and some of the stuff she does is very nice. I can't say that same for the other acting. Was a little bit on the, hard side to take. The whole parents arguing, it was unnecessary. It was like that was supposed to be a big part of it. And I was like, yeah, I could have done without that. It wouldn't have had any other influence on the movie if they hadn't had an argument. Who cares about that? It's just, it really never owned itself. It really never owned what it was trying to say. And that was unfortunate.
Also, why give her boobs all of a sudden?
Yeah.
Like, that was so weird.
It was unnecessary.
I mean, is it different over in Italy? Because I mean, she's 12 years old, and I think, to me here in the U.S., I don't see a girl who's 12 years old all of a sudden being labeled as a woman. Even if she is going into 13, that's far from being a woman, which is what I took they were trying to do with it. And that's the part that didn't feel right to me, because she was 12 years old.
I don't know. I must say that I live in Los Angeles, and I know 12 and 13-year-olds that are more experienced and knowledgeable than I am.
Oh gosh.
That's true. Today, yeah.
Yeah.
But I think it was more, I didn't feel like they were saying she was a woman. I feel like they were saying she was on the precipice of getting her period, and that was all the red, and that she was in the precipice of entering into the teenage time frame. She was in that like the dad was talking about not being able to put the plug back in or something like that. I don't even know. I don't know what that was about.
No.
I got lost on that. But I think that it was like she was about to enter into that. And the sister was already over there and already being exploited. And she was looking at what in her sister, this is what happens. This could happen when you're a teenager. it seemed like maybe that was sort of what was going on with the sister thing a little bit. I'm kind of, like I said, we're speculating because they didn't really own any of it. So.
Yeah, there did seem to be some sibling rivalry too at first. It was like young sister wants to be like older sister a bit, but then that changed. They kind of like butt heads, and she wanted to be the older sister. Savannah wanted to be beautiful and go to her modeling thing, and she, just it was like she was trying to grow apart from her, but what happens is Violet actually ends up coming in and saving her, and instead of the prince kissing the princess, the sister tells the other sister, "I love you," and it snaps her out of that hold that they had on her when she was about to have some very interesting things happen to her. So she saved her life.
An understatement.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Horrifying.
And yes. I also was repulsed by that, but then also this girl, she's 12 years old. She's clearly a child. And then as she's walking along in the red dress, all of these men on the street are referring to a child in those terms. I am not a violent person. This made me so furious. If I had the ability to jump through that screen, I would have pummeled all of those perverts. I could not stomach it. It made me absolutely nauseous. And I don't care, even for number one, you don't do that to any child, number one. Number two, even if she is an adult, you don't do that to a woman either. Like, what is this?
Yeah.
No, I am as gay as the day is long, and I don't want. I mean, not that it happens anyway. It doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. But I wouldn't want people to do that kind of behavior to me, and I wouldn't do that kind of behavior to anybody, male or female. I just don't. I cannot understand why this film thought it was acceptable. It's not acceptable. And it wasn't even addressed, and that made me angry.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And then what was up with Daniele and his fighting with, you never really found out who his parents were, and then he was fighting with the thug, and the thug threatened to kill him or kill somebody. I was like, oh, that was just another unnecessary detail we didn't need to spend time on.
Did he throw his motorbike in the lake or the forest? Like, did that happen? I wasn't sure. Okay.
Yeah, he did, but why? And who is he calls her the he calls her stepmother.
Yeah.
So who's his dad? I kept wondering. I'm like, who's his dad? Wait a second. My dad gave me the motorbike. He said that.
Yeah.
But then the dad never appears. Again, these are details that you don't need. Extraneous, distracting, and then not focusing on the parts, the story that could have been told. And the interesting thing about them using red and trying to tell the story of a woman coming of age or a girl coming into teenage years, experiencing and coming to terms with their newfound power, which is all they had to do is make her a witch. Because I don't know what percentage, a very large percentage of witchcraft movies, especially teenage ones, Carrie, The Craft, all of this witchcraft is an allegory for that very moment, for that very time. They didn't need to do all the extra symbology. They didn't need to have men hunting them down and, you grew a pair of boobs or whatever that line was.
What
was that?
Even the mom looks at her and is like, what happened?
I know. Where did you get the push-up bra?
I would have liked to have known a little bit more why the flowers chose her as well.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah,
that would have been nice.
That you call, as a writer, you call dangling threads. These are all like dangling threads that just fly out in the wind.
Yeah. And not only did the flowers choose her, but again, back on the point where at the end of the film, she's dressed in red, her sister is dressed in black. And if you go back to the two, Paradiso and Inferno, the one is dressed in red, the other one is dressed in black. So maybe that was what they were trying to do. And maybe this Daniele figure, maybe he doesn't really exist. Maybe he doesn't really matter. I don't know. Like he really is a useless character. He didn't do anything.
It seemed like he was just used there for a little while to create more tension between the two sisters, because there was this whole thing. Did you kiss him? Do you want to kiss him? Violet was worried if that Savannah about kissing, but she's the one that got the kiss. So I think it's also interesting just to point out with her name. Violets represent modesty and faithful and spiritual wisdom too. So that was kind of cool that they named her that.
And they left everything so unfinished. What happened to the parents? I mean, if you're going to show us they're fighting and you're going to show us they're all having affairs and you show them at the end, are they coming together?
We don't know what happened there.
I'd be curious to read the original story and see if that one has all the threads in it, if they're all tied up and there aren't any loose things and all of this is explained, and that maybe it was in the screenwriting and the editing where it got confused and weakened. I'd be really curious. I did not have the time to find it and read it.
I think you're being generous. I haven't read it either, but I think you're being generous.
I don't know. I would be curious because someone said, let's do this story. Someone picked it up as a property and saw something, unless it was just like a vehicle for Carrie Fisher and the pop star, and that was it. And it really, I'd be curious.
But it's interesting that it was adapted by the writer who hasn't written any other screenplays. Like unless he's a friend. And also Carrie Fisher was one of the best script doctors in Hollywood.
Right.
So I would be shocked that she would look at the script and not be like, this is problematic.
And she was in this right before she died. This was filmed right before she died. So she was, and she died suddenly. So it wasn't like she was ailing for a long time, but she probably didn't see it, is my assumption.
I mean, I have an idea. Like, it's interesting, all of the different psychotropic flowers, the baneful flowers that are mentioned in this. Like, it just sounds to me like one big psychedelic trip for some girl coming into like she's taken the salve, she's been anointed with the ointment, and on her way, going through her first flight to the Sabbath and back again.
And then there's the apple, the symbolism of the apple. She actually found the apple. She said at the end, she goes, "You actually got the apple."
Yeah.
So you have a little bit of garden, and there they put the apple so prominent, but yet you don't really.
Very.
It's confused. Not really exactly. But yeah, maybe it is. It's like Alice in Wonderland. She falls asleep down the well, and that's just a big psychedelic trip in the end, anyway.
Yeah. Or I'm thinking I should have been high for this one. I haven't said that in a while. I have not said that in a while.
You haven't.
Unfortunately, we don't have Courtney's quotes, and unfortunately, we don't have Jason's Mankey movie minute at the moment. So I guess unless there's any more discussion, we're going to go right on to voting on this lovely, fine film.
Richard-Lael had a second theory.
I was going to say,
Richard-Lael, please.
I was going to say maybe, just possibly, maybe in her mind, this is what's happened. She realizes there are changes in her body. She's now jet lagged from flying to Tuscany. She goes into the woods with all of these belladonna and all of these things. She hallucinates. And when Schiaparelli, Andronelli, whatever his name is, when he pulls her out of the water at the end, maybe she's dead. I think she might be dead. I think that she got drunk on all of these plants, tripped and hit her head, and fell, and then was never heard from again. That's my theory, and I don't know that I'm sticking to it. I don't know that it's any better than the film itself.
I kind of like that theory. I mean, how else would you get eaten by what do you call the plant?
Venus
Venus
flytrap.
Yeah, how else do you get eaten by a Venus flytrap?
I gotta tell you, when she fell into it, all I could think of, those are like gastric fluids eating at her skin. I couldn't stop thinking.
Feed me, Seymour.
Right, exactly. It was Audrey. There you go. See, another thing. So we've had Alice in Wonderland, Wizard of Oz, some mythology you pulled in, and now we have Little House Shop of Horrors.
Right.
And in America,
interesting.
In America, you eat Venus flytrap. In Russia, Venus flytrap eat you.
All right. So, instead of voting, we could pick a new ending. But no, I think we need to now vote for Wands Up, Wands Up. And that means all of you guys, now I'm sure we've inspired those of you who didn't see the film. You're going to run out and watch it, and you're going to do it for free, all sorts of places, amazingly. So
just go watch Carrie Fisher.
Yeah, watch Carrie Fisher. And it's pretty. I mean, the Italy is pretty, and the fantasy is pretty. Just go take a bath afterwards. All right. So wands up, wands down, and all you beautiful people in the chat room, we want to know you're voting as well. Down, 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 down. Neutral.
We got a neutral.
Got a neutral from Tabitha. I could have gone 2/3, but I just went on because I was dirty. Kathy, wands down. Anybody else? You afraid of Robert? Isn't here, so we won't hex you. This was a good one. These are the kinds we like. These are the kinds we like. The weirds one. Wands down from Mary Jane.
There's an up.
Ryan. Wands up. Ryan, wands up. We got another neutral from Robert. Thank you. So haven't watched it yet. Well, go watch it, Ryan, and you let us know next week. Oh, you gave it the wands up because you haven't watched it yet. Okay, that counts. It counts anyway. Thomas wands down. So all right, well, there we go. Wonderwell. And I actually watched Wonderwell by accident the night before, which is an equally ridiculous with fabulous people. Kate Winslet. So directed by Woody Allen. It's Justin Timberlake and Jim Belushi, and I'm like, where's the witches?
I was going to say there's no witches in that.
Where's the witches? Why is Wonderwell? Because Robert told me to watch Wonderwell. All right, what are we watching next week? Anybody know? Have we decided upon that?
We are watching The Last Witch Hunter, and that's with the great Vin Diesel. I think it's 2013, maybe.
Yeah.
I can tell you already, I'm so looking forward.
It's interesting. But yes, that's next week's film. I do want to share something real quick. I was watching a different movie last night. No, it's a TV show. It's a new TV show called White Lotus. I believe I want to say it's Netflix, but I'm not exactly sure what it's on.
It's Max.
It's Max. Okay,
yeah.
Thank you. So I was watching it, kind of interesting, but at one point, I think it's the third episode, the daughters are in the living room of the condo. Did you see it, Scarlett?
Yeah, and they're doing the ritual to Hecate.
Yes, so they're sitting there. Yeah. They're actually they have marijuana and a bunch of other drugs and various things, and they're doing those while the parents are sleeping in the main room, and they're in the living room on the pull-out couch. And the mom pops in, and they cover all the stuff up. And she says, "I smell smoke. What is that smoke?" And the one daughter says, "We're just doing witchcraft." And the other one says, "Yeah, we're making offerings to Hecate." And that was it. And I thought, how funny is that? Because the movie's not about witchcraft. The show is not about witchcraft. Nothing about witchcraft whatsoever. But there was like that one little thing. That is how prominent and that's how popular witchcraft and how mainstream it has become in our movies and television. That's the kind of stuff that I watch or pick up of in my studies. So I thought that was so interesting. So yeah. So they were, what did they say? We're doing witchcraft. No, is that how they phrased it? It was weird, but it was.
I just remember that because they didn't say Hecate, they said Hecate. They're like, oh, we're doing spells to Hecate. She was like, oh, okay, sure.
Well, she's very popular right now. She's very indie. She's very.
Yeah, she is, and they were doing that. They weren't quite doing that, but that's how. And the mom was like, "Oh, okay," and left.
Yeah,
that's hysterical.
I think we should address Robert Hicks. So, am I still a member of the coven? Yes, you are.
Of course, we love movies like this.
Awful film. We still love you in spite of an awful film choice. I mean, I chose The Muppets Wizard of Oz. Okay?
Right. And didn't I choose Bewitched?
No, I assigned you Bewitched because you didn't choose.
Okay. I didn't remember. I could have because that's my plane movie to go to sleep to.
Oh, okay.
Now you have a new one to go to sleep to. This one.
Yeah, this would be a good one to go to sleep to. But so anyway, next week, Vin Diesel, we're going to watch The Last Witch Hunter. Anybody have anything coming up that they want to talk about? We have a couple of minutes left. Any events? No, it's quiet season.
Go ahead, Richard. Leo.
I'll be in LA. I'm actually trying to contact the airline now. I'll be in LA next month for, I don't know. It's my friend V Neal is a makeup artist and she's doing a vampire thing and she's talking with Father Sebastian. So I don't know, but it's next month. And for some reason, for whatever reason, I think I'm supposed to be flying to LA tomorrow, but I'm not. So I'm trying to book my ticket for next month because it's weird. Anyway, I don't know.
Yeah, I know she's getting involved very much with Sebastian stuff because this week is Vampire Ball week in LA. We've got events every night. Starting tonight, we'll be at the Salon. Friday, we have a Babylon. Saturday is Bar Sinister's night. There's a high tea if anybody wants a Saturday day, and then the Big Ball Sunday. And I think V Neal will be there, but her big vampire thing is next month. Yeah.
Right. But my plane ticket is for tomorrow, and I don't know why.
Oh, because you want to come to this vampire ball too.
Well, I would love to, excepting for the fact that I have a booking tomorrow morning, and I was going through looking for, what do I have tomorrow? I have looking at my schedule, the readings that I have lined up, and I was like, flight to Los Angeles? I'm not going to LA, not until next month.
Really? Is it Southwest or something that's easy to change?
Oh no, it's Spirit. Woo! I know, and I didn't even. The funny thing was, V sent me. She was like, "Oh, don't worry, I'll send you the link." And for some reason, we got it mixed up, and I went ahead and bought the ticket. And now I have to try. As soon as I'm off here, I have to try to call the agents and see if they can at least postpone it. I don't normally fly Spirit, but it was like, well, it's right here. Why not?
Good luck.
Good luck to you.
Good luck. You could otherwise fly on in and we'll just hang out. Yeah. All right. So yes, this is Vampire Ball week for anybody in LA or who wants to come to LA. Lots of fun things to do. It's all online. Check us out. Anybody else have anything they have coming up?
We have Paganacon, a big pagan conference, is coming up at the end of March. There's a couple before that, but I will be at Paganacon. And I will be doing the Haunted Doll class as well as the Puppet class. And so I'll probably have some promotional stuff for Patty's book because it won't be out yet by then, but I will definitely do some selling of it and showing it off. And I will be there also helping Llewellyn out with the work that we do there, meeting with my authors that I can. So that's at the end of March. I'll have the dates closer in, but that's going to be really fun around the equinox.
Beautiful. Thank you. All right. Well, I guess we are up to anybody else? Speak now or forever heckle and cackle. So next week, Vin Diesel, check it out. Grab your goat. And if anybody wants their own beautiful Black Phillip with or without the bling, and we've got some bigger bling, because this was a little too subtle for some of us. Too subtle for some of us. So now there is bigger bling coming out. Go to mysterycontrol.com. You can get all things Witches Movie Coven. You can get a Richard-Lael little devil pillow. You can get Courtney quotes across the entire country. You can get my magical power panties and my spellcaster line, and of course all the goats you can feed. So check it out, mysterycontrol.com. And on that note, it is 7 o'clock, which is 1, 2, 3.